Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we follow a quiet conversation between Alex and Tu Na, where a small misunderstanding finally finds its answer. Alex explains what really happened, and Tu Na learns the truth behind a moment that made her heart hesitate. It's not about excuses, but about gratitude, trust, and the kind of love shown through actions. If you enjoy gentle, meaningful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. Let's begin. Alex pulled the chair back and sat down across from Tu Na. It was already evening. The kitchen was quiet after a long day, the kind of quiet that came only when all the work had been done and there was nothing left to distract two people from what they needed to say. The window was open, letting in the faint sounds from outside, but inside everything felt still. Tu Na sat opposite him. Her posture was calm, but her eyes showed the fatigue of the day. She did not rush him, and she did not ask questions yet. She simply waited. Alex looked at her for a moment before speaking. "I should tell you what happened, hon," he said. "About yesterday." Tu Na nodded. "Okay." He rested his hands on the table. His voice was steady, without hesitation. "It was afternoon," he said. "Before I came home late." He paused, making sure she was listening, then continued. "I ran into Tu Hong by accident. I didn't plan it." Afternoon, Alex had been driving back from town after finishing his usual rounds. He had checked prices, spoken to traders, and confirmed a few purchases. It had been a normal working day, nothing unusual. The road out of town was quiet. As he slowed near a bend, he noticed someone walking along the side of the road. What caught his attention first was the basket. It was a large woven basket strapped tightly to a woman's back. The basket was full, heavy with bundles of dried herbal leaves tied carefully with string. The person carrying it walked slowly, stopping now and then to adjust the weight on her shoulders. Alex slowed the truck and looked again. It was Tu Hong. She was walking alone. No motorbike, no cart, just her in the basket. Alex pulled over and stepped out. "Hong," he called. She turned, clearly surprised. When she recognized him, she gave a small, polite smile, though her expression showed tiredness. "Alex," she said, "you're out here too." "Where are you going?" he asked. "To the market," she replied. "Then I'll walk around town and see if I can sell the rest." Alex glanced at the basket again. "You're still carrying everything yourself?" She nodded. "It's cheaper that way. If I wait for transport, I lose time." They stood there for a moment, the late afternoon sun hanging low. Alex asked, "How has business been lately?" Tu Hong hesitated, then answered honestly. "It's been difficult," she said. "Very difficult these days." She explained that more herbal medicine shops had opened in town recently. They were bigger, better located, and easier for customers to trust. People preferred buying from shops with signs and shelves instead of small sellers like her and her mother. "There are days I go out early in the morning," she said, "and still come home with most of it. My mom doesn't say anything," she added, "but I know she worries." Alex listened quietly. He did not interrupt or offer comfort right away. Stories like this were not new to him. He had heard them many times from farmers and small traders alike. After a short pause, he asked, "Have you eaten yet?" Tu Hong shook her head. "Not yet. I was going to eat when I got home." Alex looked down the road and saw a small rice shop nearby. "Let's eat first," he said. "You shouldn't walk around like this without food." She tried to refuse at first, out of habit. "You don't have to," she said. "I know," Alex replied, "but let's eat anyway." After a moment, she agreed. They sat at a metal table inside the rice shop. Alex ordered 2 simple meals and tea. Nothing special, just warm food. As they ate, Tu Hong spoke more freely. She talked about carrying the basket all day, about people asking for prices and then leaving, about how uncertain everything felt. "I thought about finding another job," she said quietly, "but my mom can't do this alone." Alex listened carefully. When she finished, he spoke. "I might have a small idea," he said. Tu Hong looked up, unsure. "I already work with a lot of traders," Alex continued. "Vegetables, roots, dried goods. I collect and sell many different products." He explained slowly, making sure she understood. "If you and your mom can prepare the herbal leaves regularly," he said, "I can help collect them and look for buyers through my contacts." She frowned slightly. "I don't have money to invest." "You don't need to," Alex replied. "I handle transport and connections. You focus on quality." He made it clear that this was not a big promise. "We start small," he added. "If it works, we continue. If it doesn't, we stop. No pressure." Tu Hong stayed quiet, thinking carefully. Alex then added one more thing, calmly and without emphasis. "When I had that accident," he said, "your mother took me in." Tu Hong lowered her eyes. "You stayed and helped me during that time," he continued. "I haven't forgotten." He did not describe it as a debt or obligation. "This isn't charity," he said. "It's just something I can do." After a long moment, Tu Hong nodded. "Thank you," she said, "for even thinking about it." They finished their meal. Alex paid the bill. Outside, he helped her adjust the basket straps before she continued on her way. They did not finalize any agreement. They simply agreed to talk again later. Alex finished telling the story and fell silent. Back in the kitchen, Tu Na sat quietly, absorbing everything she had heard. She had not interrupted him once. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Tu Na looked down at her hands. Her fingers tightened slightly, then relaxed. She was not upset, but thoughtful, processing the information slowly. Alex did not rush her. He waited. The explanation had been given. What came next did not belong to this moment yet. Alex's gaze stayed on the table for a beat, as if he was deciding whether to say the next part at all. Then he lifted his eyes to Tu Na. "There's one more reason," he said quietly. "It's not about business." Tu Na didn't speak. She simply waited, her hand still in her lap. Alex took a slow breath. "It's about the accident, the one near the hill." He didn't dramatize it. He spoke the way he spoke about facts, but his voice softened around the edges. "I was riding down a slope outside town," he began. "The brakes failed." He explained that he had been coming downhill at an ordinary speed. He squeezed the brake the way he always did. The lever moved, but the bike didn't slow. The road narrowed, the ground uneven beneath the tires. "I tried the rear brake," he said. "Nothing. I tried to downshift. It wasn't enough." The hill rushed at him. He guided the bike toward the side where the ground looked rougher, hoping the gravel would slow him down. Instead, the tire slipped. The frame tilted hard. "I couldn't keep it upright," he said. "I went down." He told her he was thrown off. His body hit the slope and rolled, over dirt and stones and over roots that scraped his arms and shoulder. Then came a sudden cold. "I rolled off the road," he said. "I fell all the way down into the stream at the bottom." Tu Na's throat tightened. She pictured the hill, the stream, the heavy silence after an accident. Alex paused once, as if the memory had weight even without images. "I was unconscious," he said. "I didn't wake up." He looked at her to make sure she understood. "I don't remember any of what happened next," he continued. "I only know because they told me later." It was Tu Hong's mother who discovered the crash. She had been walking nearby and noticed the motorbike lying at an unnatural angle on the slope. When she followed the marks in the dirt, she saw the trail leading down the hill. She climbed carefully and found Alex in the water, still and pale. "She pulled me out," Alex said. "She called for help, but there wasn't anyone close. She dragged him away from the stream and brought him to their home because there was nowhere else to go quickly. They took off my wet clothes," Alex said. "They cleaned the mud and blood. They kept checking my breathing." He told Tu Na that Tu Hong's mother warmed water, wiped him down, and covered him with blankets. Tu Hong stayed beside him, changing cloths, wiping his face, keeping the room quiet. He did not wake once. They cared for me for a full day, Alex said, without knowing who I was, without knowing if anyone would come. It wasn't until the next day that you and Lan found me, he said. You took me to the hospital. I was still unconscious then. He let that sit between them. That's why, Alex said, when I saw Tu Hong, I didn't hesitate. Tuna's eyes lifted to his face. I wasn't trying to impress anyone, he said. I wasn't hiding anything. I saw someone carrying a basket like she was carrying her whole life on her back, and I remembered what her family did for me. I can't pretend I didn't hear her, he said. So I offered what I could. A small plan, connections, help with selling. That's it. Tuna stayed quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was low. I think I worried too much, she said. Alex didn't interrupt. When I saw you eating with her, Tuna continued, my heart felt strange. Not because I thought you were doing something wrong. She searched for the right words and then found them. I was afraid, she said. Afraid I was misunderstanding you. Alex nodded once, slowly. I understand. Tuna looked down, then back up. I trust you, she said, but I'm still learning how to stay calm when I don't know the full story. Alex's shoulders eased slightly. I should have told you sooner, he said. I didn't think it would hurt you. Tuna shook her head gently. You told me now, she said, and you didn't blame me. That matters. She hesitated, then added, I don't want to become someone who doubts you just because I feel lonely for a moment. That's not who I want to be. Alex's expression softened. He didn't argue. He simply listened, as if he respected the effort behind her words. The air in the kitchen changed. The tension that had been sitting between them like an unspoken sentence finally loosened. Tuna's eyes softened. This is exactly what I've always seen in you, she said. You remember kindness. You don't forget people. Alex looked away for a brief second, uncomfortable with praise. I just do what feels right, he said. Tuna gave a small nod. I feel lucky, she said quietly, because I'm beside someone who knows how to live with gratitude. Alex glanced at the time. I need to go, he said, standing up. Tuna looked up. Now? Yes, Alex said. I have to pick up my mom. There's a dinner nearby. She's waiting. He reached for his jacket and slipped it on. As he did, his face went still for a second, as if a thought had landed gently in his mind. The corner of his mouth lifted into a quick private smile. Tuna noticed immediately. What is it? Alex shook his head lightly, keys in hand. I'll tell you later, he said. Before Tuna could ask again, he opened the door and stepped out into the evening air. Tuna remained seated at the table. A big question lingered in her mind, one she couldn't name yet, but the heaviness in her chest was gone. She sat there for a moment longer, feeling both curious and calm, and letting the truth settle into place.
Trong tập này, Alex cuối cùng cũng ngồi xuống và giải thích mọi chuyện cho Từ Na. Anh kể cho cô nghe về việc tình cờ gặp Tiểu Hồng khi cô đang chật vật bán lá thuốc và lý do anh chọn giúp đỡ cô. Alex chia sẻ lý do sâu xa hơn đằng sau hành động của mình. Nhớ lại một tai nạn khi xe máy của anh bị mất phanh trên dốc, khiến anh ngã lăn xuống dốc và bất tỉnh trong một con suối. Mẹ của Tiểu Hồng đã tìm thấy anh và cùng Tiểu Hồng chăm sóc anh suốt cả ngày trước khi Từ Na và Lan đến và đưa anh đến bệnh viện. Nghe toàn bộ câu chuyện, Từ Na nhận ra rằng nỗi lo trước đó của cô xuất phát từ nỗi sợ hãi, chứ không phải sự thiếu tin tưởng. Cô hiểu rằng hành động của Alex được thúc đẩy bởi lòng biết ơn và trách nhiệm. Tập phim kết thúc một cách lặng lẽ khi Alex rời đi để đón mẹ anh đi ăn tối ở gần đó, để lại cho Từ Na một câu hỏi bị bỏ ngỏ trong tâm trí, nhưng một trái tim bình tĩnh và tin tưởng hơn.